welcome back to the Daily Dope. I'm your friendly commentator, Brando the Weed Commando, with my... Today we're talking about hemp, and I guess we could say that it wasn't a very good week for hemp. So it started out kind of on the wrong foot with, we still have that bad taste in our mouth in Michigan over the hemp-derived CBD been pulled off all the shelves. And on that front, I do, one of my friends works at a dispensary in the Flint area, and she informed me that representatives from LAURA, the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Office, came to their dispensary because I guess what they did is they have like a waiting area out front where you go check in, and you don't have to have a medical marijuana card to be in that particular lobby waiting area of the dispensary. And once you show your credentials and are allowed to go back into the place where only medical marijuana patients can go, in the lobby, I guess they were selling CBD that was hemp derived, and Laura told them that they had to pull that and I guess put it in the back so that only medical marijuana card holders could access it. So I guess maybe, they were just looking out for inventory that they didn't order that be confiscated immediately. But it is a sign that either they don't even know what they just said when they kind of clarified what the rules are when it comes to CBD in Michigan, or they have a little bit of compassion, just a tiny bit, and want to leave some of the stuff at the store because the people that own the store bought all that stuff and they don't want to just take a loss on it. So what do we got going on this week? Congressional Republicans block votes on the hemp amendments. What is the deal with this? So this is pretty sad, all right? I mean, it's not the most intense news that I got for you, and it's not the most important thing you're ever going to hear about hemp. But I thought it would be interesting to look at what's going on because you're going to get kind of a look inside, behind the curtain, if you will, as to how this stuff is playing out. Now, remember, we're talking about hemp here, just hemp, just the stuff with less than 0.3 or less of a percentage of THC. There's no way you could possibly get high on it. In fact, you'd be hard pressed to burn a piss test if you consumed a lot of it. So let's go ahead and read this. In the latest development in a series of anti-cannabis moves, congressional Republican leadership has blocked consideration of several industrial hemp amendments. Supporters were seeking to attach the measure to the large-scale farm bill, which sets food and agriculture policy for the country, but the House Rules Committee on Wednesday decided that the proposals cannot be considered on the floor. The anti-cannabis chairman of the panel did, however, reveal that a broader deal for industrial hemp might be in the works. One of the measures that the committee killed, submitted by Representative James Comer, Republican of Kentucky, and Earl Blumenauer, a Democrat from Oregon, along with a bipartisan list of co-sponsors, would have legalized hemp and made it eligible for crop insurance. Quote, hemp is a crop with a long and rich history in our country, Comer said in introducing his amendment before the committee. Quote, it was grown by many of our founding fathers. Comer, who is a former Kentucky agriculture commissioner, said his state's existing industrial hemp research program, which is authorized under the previous farm bill enacted in 2014, quote, has been a great success. He also spoke about the economic potential of the plant. Quote, times are tough in rural America, he said. For rural Kentuckians, industrial hemp has provided a new crop and a business opportunity. But in a party line move, the committee voted 8-3 to reject a motion to add Comer's amendment to the list of proposals approved for floor consideration. Republicans are just ruthless. There is absolutely no reason to block that amendment. There's no reason to block any of these amendments, especially this one. Another hemp amendment filed by Representative Thomas Macy, Republican of Kentucky, and Jared Polis, Democrat of Colorado, would have removed hemp from the list of federally banned substances. A clean deschedule of hemp to strip it of this morally and intellectually void of reason, marriage of hemp to the marijuana plant. Well, we know that they're all cannabis plants, but why do we not make the distinction? Well, why do we only make the distinction when we want to, huh? Is that what? Can someone answer me that? Oh, yeah, I know. It's because of Big Pharma, period. This all goes back to CBD, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. This all has to do with CBD, period. There's no other reason for the leadership here or the committee to block these amendments for going for a vote. There's absolutely no logical reason why anybody could come up with. You can't possibly do it. All right. A third proposal submitted by Representative Andy Barr, representative for Kentucky, sought to create, quote, a safe harbor for financial institutions that provide services to hemp legitimate businesses that operate under state-authorized research programs. So just the wording on that don't sound too confusing. This wasn't even trying to protect financial institutions that provide services for hemp businesses that operate and manufacture hemp for industrial purposes. This is just for state-authorized research programs. So come on. This is just absurd. And that third one was just a baby step to say, hey, these guys are doing a lot of money. It'd be nice if they could use some banks. And nope, sorry. And they're like, well, why would you be doing a lot of money doing research programs? Well, because the research programs are also one of the things you research is how financially viable the crop is. So whatever, we don't even need to go into the nuts and bolts of that. But so there is a proud history in America and in Kentucky for hemp and an agricultural product, Barr said when testifying for his amendment, noting that it can be used in over 25,000 products. Under the current law, banks that work with legitimate hemp companies, quote, fear reprisal from federal regulators, Barr said, arguing that his proposed measure would protect financial institutions, quote, from unnecessary interference from bank examiners and regulators and give producers rights that, quote, every other American crop enjoys. The committee did not hold specific votes on those two measures. Rules Committee Chairman Pete Sessions, remember him? The number one enemy of marijuana legalization at the federal level because he won't let anything get a vote. This is the number one guy. Jeff Sessions is just the puppet out front doing the lip flapping. This guy here is the actual guy that's the big fat roadblock that you just can't get around. Even if you got like a little moped of an amendment trying to protect people for growing hemp, for Christ's sakes. We're talking about hemp here. And I remember like a week ago or whatever when we had that DEA guy in the hot seat. And one of the things he said about hemp and CBD and all this was that it still falls under the auspices of the Commission on Psychotropics at the United Nations. No, well, if it does, then why are we the only country that acts like we got to follow that to the letter? I mean, come on, buddy. America imports like $50 million or more worth of hemp a year just to make hemp products and sell them legally. Because the only thing illegal about it is manufacturing it. Once you have something like hemp seeds or hemp fiber made into like little twine and stuff to do your bracelets with or whatever, that shit's not illegal because there's no THC in it. Like everybody's smart enough to make that call. Like, oh, we can sell these hemp bracelets because you can't roll them up into a paper and smoke them and get high. That's really what we're talking about, right? Every time they want to make the difference between hemp and marijuana is because the other one you can't get high off it. But that doesn't matter when you're talking about industrial hemp and the manufacture of CBD, because somehow now all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, we got to put that back with the marijuana and make it illegal completely from head to toe. It's just absurd, man. And this Pete Sessions guy, he's the piece of shit that's in your way every time. Why is he in your way this time? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, he has made a consistent practice of blocking cannabis measures from advancing over the past several years. Sessions seemingly mistakenly told Comer during the Wednesday hearing that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has, quote, a clause that industrial hemp should be classified under the Schedule I drugs, which they concur, which is the position you hold too. Huh? Oh, should be declassified. Well, that would be nice. I don't think that's true, though. I don't think that... I've never heard the DEA say that, to be honest. So I'm just right there to the first person to be like, oh, really? Because I never heard him say that. Industrial hemp has never been given a pass by the FDA or the DEA. Industrial hemp is still... even though the 2014 Farm Bill does this research thing and lets universities grow it, as much as states want to pass laws to allow industrial hemp production for commercial uses or let individuals grow hemp, it's still a Schedule I drug under the Federal Controlled Substances Act, period. Bar none. There's no question about it. The DEA has been very clear about this. And the FDA... they basically just, well, whatever the DEA said. You know, the FDA is just going to pass the buck on this one. We've already heard them do it. And when it comes to CBD, they're like, well, you know, we don't know anything about no plant-derived CBD, you know, that you guys are talking about. If you want to do CBD, put in your paperwork to do research on CBD and either make it in the lab or we'll give you some CBD that we got or whatever. I don't know how they do that, but we haven't seen anybody try, so who knows. Anyway, so we're here. We're going to watch this video about, this is the one where Sessions says this, and I don't believe it.
Yeah, also, and I'm sure you're aware of this, that DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, has a clause, I don't know if it's a recommendation, but a clause that industrial hemp should be declassified under their Schedule I drugs, which they concur, which is the position you hold too.
Yeah.
I'm delighted that you continue to be an ambassador on behalf of this this important crop. And
Thank you.
Thank the gentleman for not only staying after me, but his position of ensuring that his rural people have a safe product to sell.
Right.
Did he just act like he cared right there? I mean, everything he just said was like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm glad to see you're ambassador for this crop, and this is going to help the people in your rural areas and all this. Watch how he votes no on this shit. This guy don't give a shit. None of these three amendments, remember, the amendments, we read through them, none of them say we should make hemp legal and also lace it with heroin so that little kids can access it. Like, there's nothing in here that you should want to make it like, okay, yeah, let's not let these go to the thing and be amended for the Farm Bill, to the Farm Bill. So at least they're amending it to the right thing. What's the problem?
And another thing with hemp, they're not, you're probably not going to see a lot of hemp grown in Iowa, in the Corn Belt, Nebraska, those places, because the land is a lot better. This is a crop you can grow in more marginal land. That's why in South Central Kentucky,
I don't know what the point of
going
this is.
east towards Appalachia, the land becomes less marginal. It's a better option. You can't, they're small farms, you can't grow corn on small plots and feed your family anymore. We have to find alternative crops. And you know, after 5 years of work with this in Kentucky, this is something that has potential. It's not going to solve the world's problems, but it's something that has potential for our family farmers, and it can create manufacturing jobs in America, because we're buying these products. We're just getting them from Canada and China.
Dr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just ask you on the hemp issue, can this amendment proceed without us declassifying hemp
Why
as
would
a
you want
controlled
to?
substance?
I think we've talked about this a lot with investors, with people in the industry, and it really needs to be declassified because it's
And also, why the fuck do you want to not declassify hemp? What is the seriously though, what is the problem with that? What's Schedule 1 drug mean? That means it's highly addictive. That means it has a super big time potential of abuse, no medical value, and you can die from it, apparently. I don't know if that's really a thing. I don't think that's part of it. Should be. If you can't die from somebody, why do we care if somebody fucking uses it or not? I mean, unless it makes you literally go kill people every time you take it or eat people's faces, which we still don't have proof that bath salts does that. But come on, what is the point of not descheduling it, dude? I don't know how anybody could be that stupid to ask a question so ignorant. Like, hey, can't we like protect people for banking and, you know, make it so this and that, and it's just a bunch of protections for people that do business with industrial hemp, something that can't possibly get you high. There's no potential for abuse because nobody does the fucking, it's not a drug. All right. And if you do consider CBD a drug, which again, it's not, it's probably more along the lines of a supplement or something, a herbal remedy, if you will. I would more call it like a required element that you need in your body as much as possible. It don't get you high. It doesn't do anything to you. So why would you want to do anything and not deschedule it? What's the point of that? What would be the point of keeping it in the schedule right alongside a heroin where you're talking about something that could be highly addictive and very dangerous and not medicine? Maybe that's the only one that you're leaning on, that it's not medicine. Well, I got news for you, idiots. CBD actually is medicine. And whole plant marijuana is medicine. Believe me. All right, this is just fucking stupid, man.
It's a detriment to investment because if you have an overzealous law enforcement, you know, bureaucrat that wants to come on and say this is a controlled substance, then that's you know, a huge roadblock to private investment. I mean,
so let me just ask you a question. Your amendment is not changing the classification.
It does change the declassification. I think it needs to. I may have misunderstood your question.
Okay, so you are.
You know, we don't need to change the classification, kids. We need to remove it from the Controlled Substances Act. It's not a drug. It's not a fucking buzz material. How come? And alcohol, what about that? That's not even in the fucking Controlled Substances Act. Most deadly drug there is, highly addictive. It's not even the most. The most deadly drug there is, of course, is nicotine. But the second most deadly drug that we have available to us is fucking alcohol. It's not even in the Controlled Substances Act at all. Most addictive, most deadly, zero chance that it's fucking medicine, but somehow that bitch ain't in the fucking CSA. Gee, what the fuck? Man, I'm sorry I always swear so much when I'm doing hemp videos, guys, but this is just as, you know, ridiculous and stupid as I can fucking, like, sit here and actually subject myself to. You know, activist for decades. You know, I've basically done everything you could with weed as far as, like, breaking the law because there's these laws are not, they don't make sense. For marijuana, are you fucking kidding me? Marijuana is totally harmless. Absolutely zero harm can be done unless you basically harm yourself with it by just acting like it's harming you and abusing it, which is basically over-medicating. But when you're talking about hemp, this is not even a fucking the same thing. It's not even apples and oranges. It's like apples and cars or something. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Changing the DEA classification with an amendment to a farm bill. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, we want to make things safe for people manufacturing CBD or whatever else they want to do with their industrial hemp. We want to make it safe for them to operate. Why should we leave it in Schedule 1? How are you making it safe? The bank ain't going to actually do business with somebody if it's still a Schedule 1. That's the whole point, man. If you take it off of the scheduling, then the banks are like, okay, cool. It's just like any other crop. We'll do business with you.
Which is in line with the recommendation and agreement with the DEA.
Yes.
Get off the phone, Sessions.
What about the medical marijuana farmers who are worried about dilution of the gene pool?
Well, this has, and
Now,
again, we've written the bill narrowly to where we define industrial hemp, 0.3 or less THC. The medical marijuana is around 40% THC. I mean, it's
Yeah, but are they
100
worried?
times more.
Are they worried they get diminution of the potency of their product because of your hemp growing next door?
all right, so this guy obviously knows absolutely nothing about marijuana or, you know, annual plants. Or, I mean, come on, man. This is why your job is to vote yes or no on things that are put in front of you based on what the constituents want you to do. Your job isn't to know what the fuck's going on with hemp versus marijuana or whatever, but if somebody tells you that hemp don't get you high, let's take it out of schedule, you should be like, yeah, that's perfectly fucking logical. Now you're getting off into the weeds about whether a fucking hemp plant's going to pollinate a marijuana plant and delineate the potency. Dude, you are just like, you're so like, this is like not even worth listening to you anymore. We're going to move on. I don't know if anybody else talked about anything or asked any serious questions in that, but we just wanted to hear that part where Sessions kind of, you know, enumerated that point about, I don't know what the hell he was talking about. Oh yeah, you know, the DEA was like, oh yeah, that shit should be declassified or, you know, not in the same schedule as Schedule 1 as marijuana, of course. I've never heard the DEA say that shit. Last time I checked, they were making up some kind of new number to designate CBD, so when they fucking arrest your ass crossing the border with a truckload of it, they can put you in prison properly because they got all the numbers to write down. I mean, come on, man. You guys can't be this stupid. I mean, you can be, but not as stupid as that last guy. I mean, come on. And furthermore, the other guy, you know, I'm not even going to touch that one, but 40% THC. I still don't think anything's broke the 29.99, and I don't know how you can really go too much farther past 30%. I mean, you're talking about a third of what you're looking at is THC. You really won't be able to see much else, man. So anyway, a hemp lobbyist told Marijuana Moment in an email that he had not heard of the DEA taking a pro-hemp position. Neither have I, man. Polis, who is Rules Committee member, made the unsuccessful motion to let the full House vote on Comer's amendment, argued that hemp is a common sense area that enjoys bipartisan support. The measure, he said, would simply treat industrial hemp as the agricultural commodity that it is. While Sessions and other GOP panel members were not swayed, the chairman did hint just before the vote that there may still be hope for hemp reform, saying that the issue would be determined by an agreement that would be reached with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky. Is that the same Mitch McConnell that promised the Democrats we would do some working on DACA later? I mean, this is the same Mitch McConnell that said that the Democrats were obstructing Trump's nominee picks, even though he sat back and wouldn't let a Supreme Court pick go through for Obama. Like this, I don't believe a fucking word McConnell says about anything, ever, period, with no exceptions. But for some reason, I feel a little bit of a glimmer of hope that this thing that Sessions is talking about here isn't complete horse shit. But it feels like it is. It feels like he just wanted to get everybody out of the fucking room without any more squabbling and, you know, get the no votes out, because that's the only reason they showed up today is to vote no on these fucking amendments and then get the hell out of there. So, of course, he's going to say whatever the hell he can say to get the fuck out of there. And all he had to say is, oh, remember that other guy that's talking about hemp all the time from Kentucky? Because, you know, the families in Kentucky been getting fucked over for fucking 6 generations on hemp. Well, yeah, that guy, he said something about a deal and we're going to work it out. And yeah, we'll make a deal. Man, I don't trust or believe any of this shit till I see it. And to me, I think they're going to sit on this shit and kick the can around as long as somehow they can. I know we're not letting them. We're on their asses, and they're still doing it. They're still kicking this can around. This 2014, that's when the fucking hemp bill, the farm bill was amended to allow, studying of hemp crops by universities and states that allowed it. That's 4 years ago. Since then, basically nobody's done shit. I heard Arizona just said, okay, we're going to do some research. A couple other states got good programs going. They produce a lot of hemp. So it's very slow. It's very slow, and it's very agonizing to watch. But what's even more agonizing to watch is this fucking vote. Let's check it out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the distinguished gentleman bringing this discussion. I was just having a discussion with the gentleman from Massachusetts and told him that a decision on this effort, including the language, has been determined by an agreement that would be reached with Mr. McConnell and the gentleman also from Kentucky. And so I encouraged him to come and not only make his amendment before discussion before the committee, but he knows where I stand on this. And so the committee, by agreement, did not make that an order. And I would like for the gentleman to know that it was not because of any other agreement, that Mr. Comer is aware of that, and I'm sorry he has not had that discussion with you. With that said, I want the gentleman, if he wishes, if he would wish to pursue that, that's fine. But I would have hoped that Mr. Comer may have had a discussion with you. So
I did talk to him during the last round of votes, and he very much expressed his desire that that it would be made in order.
Today, right now.
Okay. The further discussion. The vote will now be on the poll amendment. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No.
Roll call, please.
Gentleman asks for roll call vote. Clerk will poll the committee.
Mr. Cole? No. Mr. Cole? No. Mr. Woodall? No. Mr. Woodall? No. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess? No. Mr. Collins? No. Mr. Collins? No. Mr. Byrne? No. Mr. Byrne? No. Mr. Newhouse? No. Mr. Newhouse? No. Mr. Buck? Ms. Cheney? Ms. Cheney? No. Mr. McGovern? Mr. McGovern, aye. Mr. Hastings, Mr. Polis.
Aye.
Mr. Polis, aye. Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres, aye. Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Chairman, no.
Clerk report the total.
3 yeas, 8 nays.
The amendment is not agreed to. Not agreed to. For the amendment or discussion, seeing none, the vote will now be on the motion from the distinguished gentleman from Oklahoma. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
Ayes have it. Ayes
Well,
have
that's
it.
for a roll call.
Gentleman asks for a roll call vote. Clerk will poll the committee.
Mr. Cole. Aye. Mr. Cole, aye. Mr. Woodall. Aye. Mr. Woodall, aye. Mr. Burgess.
It's
Mr.
ridiculous,
Burgess,
man. It's fucking ridiculous. And again, sorry about the massive amount of F-bombs being dropped on this hemp story, but it's just how I get, man. The last one I made was the same way. When I made a long-ass hemp video about hemp was actually doing good that week. Hemp was winning that week. Hemp was kicking ass. It was winning in Washington. It was winning in Hawaii. And, if you look on the news and look for hemp and then hit the news tab, there's always a nice page full of great things happening in the hemp world. You got, we got this problem in Oregon where there's too much damn weed. So guess what? People are thinking about hemp. Maybe we should start growing hemp. Hemp Inc., well, that's a marijuana company. So we got hemp engineering. We got hemp trying its hardest to be like everything, and it's working. Here's a women-run hemp equity fund, which is racking up a $20 million global equity fund for the investment on industrial hemp. And that's awesome. And they're helping women because women are running the equity fund. So there's going to be a lot of women in the hemp business, it looks like. Indiana hemp production will be studied. Marijuana will not. So Indiana, and then I seen another one, Arizona. The governor there just signed it in so that they're gonna do hemp. Where is that? Right here. Arizona lawmakers are working to bring this versatile crop back, and Governor Ducey signs off on the bill. So, you know, we'll see. They just started their pilot program, so that's the one where they got to research it at the schools and all that. Now down here in Washington, we have industrial hemp being used to build homes, which is one of the things I've always talked about, hempcrete. So, yeah, I mean, there's never a shortage of stories about hemp, and you can see why they don't like hemp, because you can get CBD readily from it. And here's a story about that. What do you know? And by the way, we also seen this come out, well, this was actually a couple weeks ago, but still, hemp shows potential for treating ovarian cancer. Researchers demonstrate hemp's ability to slow cancer growth and uncover mechanism for its cancer-fighting ability. Now we have results from some of the first studies to examine hemp's ability to fight cancer show that it might one day be useful as plant-based treatment for ovarian cancer. Hemp is part of the same cannabis family as marijuana, but doesn't have any psychoactive properties or cause addiction. And then down here, a quote: "Our findings from the research as well as prior research show that KY hemp slows ovarian cancer comparable to or even better than the current ovarian cancer drug cisplatin," said Turner. Since cisplatin exhibits high toxicity, we anticipate that hemp would carry less side effects. However, that needed to be tested in the future. Did you just say high toxicity? So if one doesn't work as good as the other, and the one that doesn't work as good also can kill you, I don't think you need to worry about further testing to make sure that hemp had less side effects, dude. That's pretty... Anyway, I'm not critiquing you guys. Good job on that. Continue your research. But, you know, and that's why this is happening. That's why the DEA, the FDA, that's why Pete Sessions and all the Republicans, they're not going to budge, because hemp is medicine and hemp works. Did you see that? Hemp works better than the drugs they got now for ovarian cancer. Don't kill you, ain't addictive, don't even get you high. So, you know, of course they fucking hate it over at the DEA and the FDA, Big Pharma, mainstream media, who gets most of their paychecks from Big Pharma, in case you haven't been sitting around there watching commercials all day. And yeah, that's just the way it is, man. That's what we're fighting, guys. We're fighting this behemoth, Big Pharma. And, you know, you say I'm a conspiracy theory all you want, nut. Yeah, I'm a crazy fucking nut, man. Well, the people that did the #1 research, or not research, but opposition money to marijuana legalization in Arizona, Incest Therapeutics, turns out they were behind some of the biggest numbers in bribing doctors and, you know, writing fake opioid prescriptions by the numbers. They were huge. They were big. They were killing people all day, and I was saying it. And so they get to peddle death, and as long as the checks keep rolling into everybody keeps like demonizing weed and making it so CBD is not available to people that want to get it, even if they don't want THC. So what is this about? DEA's rule on cannabis extracts will stand, federal judges say. So more bad news on hemp. The hemp industry sued to overturn coding that they saw could lead to improper seizures of products, arrest of makers. And this is that number I remember I was talking about earlier, about how the DEA invented a number so that they could track CBD extract. A federal appeals court this week dealt a blow to the makers of CBD-rich cannabis extracts, who were trying to stop the Drug Enforcement Administration from considering their products as dangerous drugs. A panel of judges from the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals shot down the hemp industry's challenge of a DEA rule that established a drug code for marijuana extracts. DEA officials had said that the code was intended to track cannabis derivatives used and researched, and to meet treaty obligations. There's that psychotropic drugs treaty The only treaties that America follows to the letter and worships like a god. The only treaty where America follows it even more closely than anybody else, because somehow they bundle everything hemp in with marijuana and Schedule 1 it. No other country does that with hemp that I know of. If there is one, point it out. I don't remember seeing anything about that anywhere else. I mean, we've been buying hemp from Canada for 50 years, you know. So come on, man. Give me a break, dude. Why are we following these treaties so much? Are we bootlickers or something? I thought America was like the fucking home of the free and brave or some shit. Anyway, adding that these extracts and byproducts remain Schedule 1 substances that the government says have no accepted medical use, such as heroin, LSD, peyote, ecstasy. And by the way, let's not forget that nobody's actually using the CBD to get high, and it's absolutely not addictive in any way, shape, or form. The only reason people would use CBD is for medicinal reasons. So it's like the fucking most oxymoronic thing in the fucking universe to have CBD on Schedule 1, period. Let me just say that one more time. It's absolutely the most oxymoronic fucking thing in the universe to have CBD on Schedule 1. How can it not be? In fact, it's so oxymoronic that CBD actually negates the effects of THC. Isn't that crazy? So if you have like twice as much CBD as THC in a compound, you won't even get high on it. It will counter the effects of the THC to the point where you won't even get high. Are you fucking kidding me, man? This is unbelievable. Hemp industry leaders push back on that Schedule 1 assertion and the rule itself. Represented by Denver-based cannabis law firm Hoban Law Group, the Hemp Industries Association and other hemp businesses challenged the DEA's rule and alleged the agency overstepped its bounds by essentially scheduling substances, notably cannabinoids, that were not classified as illicit in the Controlled Substances Act. Additionally, they argued that hemp-derived extracts rich in CBD or cannabinol are protected under the state laws and the Farm Bill provisions. Now, I know what you're going to say is they're right? But they just, you know, when I made a video about this a long time ago, I just got to reiterate that the DEA has said time and time again that every part of a marijuana plant, from top to bottom, seed to stalk to root to leaf to bud to anything, is marijuana, and marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug. That's what the DEA's position is and always has been. So for you to say that they had to specifically say that CBD is or isn't a Schedule 1 drug or this or that is a moot point, because they can take a seed and be like, see this seed? That's marijuana. You know, see this root that I found with dirt still connected to it? That's marijuana, and it weighs a pound. I mean, this is the DEA we're talking about, man. They're not very smart, and they definitely don't give a shit about nuance. The rule could be misinterpreted by other federal and local agencies, lead to unlawful product seizures, and chill a booming multi-billion-dollar hemp products industry, Hoban attorneys had said. And yeah, they have done these things. They've made these large seizures of CBD and hemp-derived, and it is stymieing the industry. Look at what Michigan did. They just decided to say, okay, yeah, you know, I guess, you know, what we're talking about here is, according to everything we can see on paper, CBD coming from hemp is illegal. Unbelievable. And you know, we don't have supplements and natural remedies. Like, you go to GNC, none of that shit is scheduled. None of that shit that's on those shelves, like St. John's Wort or whatever you have, none of it is regulated. It could have contaminants in it. It could be laced with something. None of it's tested or regulated, unless, you know, they do it independently. It's not forced. So I don't know. This is very dicey for them to like throw it in FDA from the FDA angle, but from the DEA angle, again, everything from the root to the dirt to anything. So I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, Hoban guys. I'm gonna have to side with them too on this, because it just seems like their stupid ass brain dead definition is just like this giant hammer used to beat down all of their arguments with. And that's what it's doing here. So in the opinion issued Monday, the Ninth Circuit judge said Hoban Law Group's clients had an opportunity to comment during the DEA's rulemaking process, but failed to do so. As a result, the bulk of their challenge was moot. Well, now that's just absurd. You know, whatever. I think if they had the opportunity to make comments that would have been relevant at the time, they would have done it. So that's just like, it's another one of those things that prohibitionists always do, is they always turn the tables and make it sound like it's your fault because of some error that you did, or some like thing that you forgot to do that was part of the process, and you know, whatever. Just like when you know, the case against Jeff Sessions by Alexis Bortel and all those other people that are trying to sue and challenge the whole designation of Schedule 1 in general. Well, the judge did the same thing there. Like, oh, you know, this ain't even the right way to go about doing this. Go try to do it the right way. It's like, no, we've seen other people try that way too, and they kick the can over to Congress. So, you know, this is just how it goes in the government. They could tell you that, yeah, you try to get Social Security, same thing. You know, everything is like this with the government, right? Like, they always got the runaround for you. Well, this is just by design, completely by design. Separately, the judges said that the DEA's final rule did not violate the Agriculture Act of 2014 Farm Bill, which contained provisions allowing for industrial hemp, defined as cannabis sativa plants with less than 0.3% of concentration of psychoactive tetracannabinols. The Agricultural Act contemplates potential conflict between the Controlled Substance Act and preempts it, the judge wrote. That's the silver lining for the hemp business, said Garrett O'Graff, an attorney with Hoban. Quote, the sky is not falling based upon this decision. The court's view of the Farm Bill, coupled with the DEA statement last year, indicated that there was no intent to regulate cannabinoids should give the hemp industry some solace, Graff said. No, we want a clean deschedule because you fools, we can't trust you. Just because you say, oh, we don't plan on doing anything about this. Come on, why should we worry about it? Gives us more reason to worry about it because we're afraid that you're going to let someone get really big and then bust them. I don't know, to make an example out of it or what, but we know that Big Pharma is who's holding the leashes on you attack dogs. So please don't like bait us with this kind of bullshit. Quote, these are all positives that the industry can take as yet another arrow in the quiver of legitimacy, he said. Now, I will give you, you can get, when you get to court, you're going to wait, oh, but guess what? They said they wasn't going to do this, so I guess it doesn't matter that they did it. Come on, man. Really? Are you really a lawyer talking about this like that? I don't know what you're trying to say. You're acting like you want them to continue to do business even though it's a risk. I see it as a risk. I don't see it as not a risk until they take it out of schedule and make a clean distinction that hemp and marijuana, in their eyes, is not the same thing. All right, so there remain broader concerns about the safety and security of those who make and sell hemp extracts in the industry. That's all I got on this, guys. I'm not going to bore you with any more. That was Alicia Wallace, by the way, and we heard word on the street is they cleaned house over at the Denver Post and basically got rid of the whole cannabis staff. Is that right? Is that how it went down? That's fucking crazy. I don't like the sound of that, but Alicia Wallace, she's still there. She's hanging tough. Of course, she writes for more than just about cannabis. But shit, her cannabis reporting to me is pretty damn important, man. Please don't get rid of her. And I mean, even if they did, I'm sure Alicia will find some greener pastures, if you know what I mean. But I can't down the Denver Post for doing that or whatever. And you know, weed news isn't like the biggest deal in the world, which is why my channel hasn't exactly like, you don't see me getting the millions of subscribers like somebody like a Custom Grow 420 where you just sit around and smoke dabs and people fucking hit like all day. So it's whatever, but that's all I got, guys. I'm trying to make videos. Hit some like buttons. Tell me what you think. Peace.